It's Thursday, July 12th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Thanks for joining us. With the details, I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Prime Minister Mia Mottley recently announced an end to tuition fees for Barbadian students attending the University of the West Indies. But there's apparently some confusion over who will pay for the upcoming semester. Students showing up to enroll at the university for the semester, which begins on August 20th, are being told they must pay tuition fees themselves by August 26th. One parent told Barbados Today she was advised by the campus admissions department that it had received no official notification from government, and as such, she would be required to pay the fees. She was told she would be reimbursed as soon as the financial arrangements were finalized. When contacted, the Director of Communications at the Keyville campus, Chelston Lovell, suggested the issue was a matter of timing, as the university was operating on the premise that tuition was free for Barbadian students as of August 1.
There are a lot of things together that were done, but even the Government Information Service has been hard-pressed to decide, which ones that they're going to have to push initially to have in public education. So it may have been a case, too much too soon, but there's a lot of stuff that has to be worked out. And I guess the campus's financial arrangement has been caught up in that. It's not a single event. It's not a single announcement that's being worked on that is being delayed. It's one of a number of budgetary measures that have to be worked through.
Several attempts to reach Education Minister Santia Bradshaw for comment were unsuccessful. It's early days yet, but the July 1 introduction of the room rate levy and the 2.5% product development levy on direct tourism has not scared away tourists for the crop over season. That's according to the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, which is the organization that represents the interests of local hoteliers. BHTA Chairman Stephen Austin says information from key players suggests business has remained steady despite the taxes announced last month by Prime Minister Mia Mottley.
As far as some of members have reported to us, there's been no drop-off in accommodation and bookings and such like. I think regardless of that though, I think that people have come to a point where they know there is a levy, and I take for example people that are staying with us at Port St. Charles, which might not be the typical example, but most people have paid it without even a question. Most people that are coming next year have just said, we expected it, and we paid in Europe and we paid in other places, so we expected it, and it probably took a little longer than we thought in being implemented. So it was actually quite surprising for us in our experience. Some members I think we just need to make sure that we promote our product and be more consistent and offer better value, basically.
The island's two key tourism agencies, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. and the Barbados Tourism Product Authority, will soon operate under a single board. Acting Minister of Tourism Colin Jordan says this is the first step in the government's move to operate the two entities as a partnership between government and the private sector. He made the announcement after delivering the feature address at the annual general meeting of the Intimate Hotels Group at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center yesterday.
What the ministry has decided as an interim measure is to have a single chair, a single board for the two existing entities, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. and the Barbados Tourism Product Authority. So there's going to be, even though two organizations at the moment, they'll be operating under guidance from a single board and a single board chair, single board directors and a single chairperson of that board. And that will be the interim measure until the structure is finalized and put in place to bring the two entities back together in a private-public sector arrangement.
More Barbadians are showing an interest in long-term savings. That's according to Fortress Fund Managers and Royal Fidelity. Chief Investment Officer of Fortress Fund Managers, Peter Arinder, says such interest in long-term investments shows that young people are serious about their future.
but the fact that we've had more and more people coming to us, more younger people, partly just by becoming aware of what the options are, and partly by the fact that, as mentioned earlier, the banks are just not paying a lot anymore. It's sort of pushing, and people are becoming more aware of it, and it's one of the reasons why, even in this difficult environment, we've kept our Barbados funds open for regular monthly savers up to $2,000 per month. So that still accommodates a number of people who are starting out and so on. So we're very big believers that that's important, and it makes us happy to see a little more of that happening. Yeah.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To developments from the region, we head to Bermuda, where a 37-year-old man believed to be a Jamaican is in police custody on suspicion of importing drugs into the country. According to this report from Jasmine Peterson of ZBN News, the man was apprehended by police after he ran out of the customs area at the airport yesterday afternoon.
Police say the suspect fled on foot and was pursued by officers who eventually apprehended him on the causeway a short time later. He remains in police custody at this time on suspicion of drug importation, pending further inquiries. It is understood a quantity of what is believed to be heroin was recovered during the incident.
And finally, the United States could soon run out of Chinese goods to tax if a trade war continues to escalate. We get more in this report from Reuters TV.
China says it's shocked now that the U.S. has launched its latest salvo in a trade war with Beijing. On Tuesday, the Trump administration threatened tariffs on an extra $200 billion worth of Chinese imports. Hours later, on Wednesday, Beijing officials called that completely unacceptable and warned they would be forced to respond. However, if Beijing is to hit back, as Reuters' Tony Monroe explains, it may need to get creative to match tariffs on $200 billion worth of goods.
That is roughly twice the amount that China actually imports from the United States. So it's impossible for China to match those tariffs dollar for dollar. What it could do instead is increase the actual level of tariffs on items, imported items from the U.S. that it is imposing tariffs on. It could step up harassment, for lack of a better word, of U.S. companies operating in China.
For now, U.S. officials say the latest list won't take effect for at least 2 months, giving businesses time to comment and giving the two sides time for a new round of talks.
And that's news. But for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good morning.